Welcome to the Society.
Before we descend into madness, please be advised that the following program contains topics and cases describing graphic violence, strong sexual content, explicit language, and elements that may not be suitable for some audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, Screamers. Welcome into this special edition of my variety show from hell. How's everyone holding up out there? I mean, between the release of yet another fake Bigfoot sighting, a woman haunted by the ghost of whoever decided her backyard was prime burial real estate, and trolls demanding I quit podcasting and start an OnlyFans, things have been interesting, to say the least. Hope you all are hanging in there. For this edition of the podcast, I thought we could have a little Halloween fun. I mean, we are knee-deep into spooky season, so I've brought some friends along. Some of my awesome podcaster and creator friends have contributed their personal, horrifying, and unexplained experiences that I've dug up straight from the grave. Now, you should note that some of these conversations were recorded remotely, so if you're an audio purist, you might notice the differences, but nonetheless, these stories are spooky and extraordinary. So, without further ado, grab your witch hats, Ouija boards, and crucifixes because it's time for Sinister Stories. Welcome to a world where darkness and mystery converge. Navigate the depths of horror and true crime and join a society beyond the ordinary, where buzzworthy topics, paranormal tales, and listener-submitted experiences blend into a realm of the unknown. You have crossed into a place where the unusual and the terrifying are just the beginning. My name is Ralph Anthony, and welcome to the Scream Society podcast. I had the pleasure of sitting in with my friend Deborah, the mind behind Paranormal Paradigma, which is a website and social media accounts dedicated to supporting and guiding those who've encountered the unexplained. And with over 20 years of experience as an educator and spiritual guide, Deborah has combined her academic background with her own paranormal experiences to create a safe space for others who felt dismissed or isolated. Her mission is to provide validation, understanding, and reliable resources to those navigating the often misunderstood world of the paranormal. Now, Deborah shares her personal story that begins in her childhood, an experience that would resurface in unexpected ways into adulthood.
I was young. I was a little girl. I was definitely in 4th grade, so I'm not sure if I was 8 or 9 or 10 years old. I can't remember right now how old we're supposed to be in 4th grade. But I was definitely in 4th grade. And my mom was awake and I was awake. I should have been sleeping. My sister was sleeping. She's 5 years younger than me, so she must have been like 4 years old or 5. And my dad was sleeping because he owned a company and he had to wake up early and do like entrepreneur things. And so we were out. My mom was outside. She had this very, I guess, odd tendency to do laundry at night, and she was doing laundry like she normally did. It wasn't anything odd, and I don't remember what I was doing, honestly, but I do remember the gut-wrenching call in Spanish too, because we're, Hispanic. So she was like, Deborah! And like very like, oh my God. And I ran outside. I'm like, what is happening to my mom? And I run outside and I see, she's like, come here, ven acá. And she like grabs me and she like kneels down like my height, like she gets to my height and she points to the sky and she's like, do you see that? And I'm like, yeah, Mom. And she's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's an airplane, Mom. And she was like, no. And she's like, look at it again. It's going too slow to be an airplane. And I'm like staring at this thing, and it's like one of those like in the movies where like the person like slowly realizes like there's something wrong. And that's what happened. We just like, I kind of just like was like, what the heck? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what that is. So we run out. Like we run through the house to go out to and when we get there, I see this beautiful like thing in the sky light up, like it's lit, it's colorful, it's just so many colors, and the colors are like flickering and just all around. And it looked like a saucer, And it was pretty low hanging too. We always describe it as like being the height of like a helicopter, like when helicopters hover and try to search for like suspects and things like that. So it was about that height, and it was not that far ahead of us. So it was a few blocks down, but it looked, I don't know, it just looked so like it was right there for me. I think it was at that moment when I'm seeing this thing and I'm looking at it, and it just like hit me. I run inside to my house, and I I hid where the refrigerator and the wall met, and I just kind of like tucked my knees into my chest, and I just like sat there, and I started like shivering, and I was like, I'm gonna be abducted. Like, and I hear my mom like she's like, I'm gonna get the camcorder, and when she goes outside, she's like, it's not there, and she's like, it's not there. And what freaked her out and like worried her, like made her confused, I guess, was like, how can it not be there when it was going so slow? Like, even if it took me a few minutes to like get this going, I should be able to see the tail end of this thing. It like completely disappeared. And I remember the next morning, my mom has the camcorder, and she's like filming the sky. I think we have footage of like a very shaky video of like this light in the sky in the morning. Like, it's bright in the morning. Kind of looks like a star or something. I don't know. As I grew up and, you know, became an adult and stuff, I had a few other kind of experiences. I would see things in the sky. I never stopped looking toward the skies, by the way. Like, I got obsessed. Like, I was like, I know things are out there. About a year ago, a lot of changes were happening in my life. So I ended up moving. At that time, like the first few months, I'm like, we're getting settled in, and I start to see a light shine through my window. And it was weird for us, or at least for me, because I'm the one waking up in the middle of the night seeing this. I noticed that it's not shining through the bottom, like because I see cars come in and out all the time and shine their lights through sometimes. This one's coming from the top. And I'm like, okay, well, that's odd, because I don't hear anything, you know, I don't hear anything that would have me suspect that it would either be a helicopter or an airplane. But then from there, it started, I would wake up and then I would hear a hum. We live right next to a supermarket. And the supermarket, occasionally at the 4 o'clock, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., they get trucks in. And so I occasionally hear those. But this didn't sound like a truck. This sounded like almost like a drone, right? Like hovering. And it was just very melodic. Weeks passed, maybe. I don't exactly know. And then one night I wake up, and in my room, and I kid you not, there are these two alien beings. I just remember kind of looking at them. I'm not sitting up fully, like I'm just kind of like, I'm like laying, but like kind of up, like I don't know, it's just a weird. And I'm looking at them, and one of them is sitting down with his knees tucked inside. No, other one's right behind him. And they're literally right at the corner of my room where the window is. And they're just looking at me. And I'm looking at them for a minute. There's a little bit of light shining through the room, so I can see that they're sort of like a brown red color, kind of shiny, black eyes. What I did notice was that their heads weren't as like elongated as they usually depicted. It was a little bit more wide, big, like definitely the skull area, like that area was definitely large. Like face, I guess, was a little wider than what I would have expected. And they were just looking at me. And I just remember this happened all in a span of a few seconds. And I just remember being like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to sleep now. And I wake up the next morning and I'm like, I don't know if this was like a lucid dream. After that, I get more into the Stephen Greer alien disclosure stuff. So I watch all the documentaries on that and everything. And then I learn about the C5, which is the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which is the encounter that you yourself provoke, I guess. Like you ask to meet these beings or to see them in some way, like a UFO or beings or whatnot. And I learned about that and I was like, I wonder if I can do that. And it took me a little bit of time because I think these things initially are very scary because again, you don't know what you're dealing with. But I remember saying like, they can't, if they really wanted to hurt me or us, I guess, in this world, I think they could have done this a long time ago. So I remember meditating, but I didn't do a guided meditation. I know he has all that. I did my own sort of meditation. Like I just let my I just let me sort of guide it and see where it would go. And it felt really comforting. I remember in the meditation asking, like, please, like, I don't want to be scared. Please, like, don't let this not be scary. You understand? Like, I want to, like, experience this, but I don't want to be afraid. I don't want this to be some sort of random thing. I wanted more, like, concrete. Like, I want to know that this was me that asked for it in this experience. So I said, I want to see it. If you can come visit me, it needs to be at 9 p.m. And I wanted my husband to be there. And so I kind of just, like, stopped the meditation, let, I think, a couple days go by. I went outside and my husband had just come back, and I go outside and I'm waiting up for it to get dark, and I'm looking up in the sky, and I already knew intuitively where it would come from. So it would be coming from, like, the southeast, which is where I typically see the moon come from at certain times. And so I waited outside patiently. I didn't see anything. My husband gets out of the car right about like 9 o'clock and 8:50 something. And I look at my time and I see it's 9 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, I don't see anything. He's looking, he's talking on the phone. And at one point I look up in the sky and I see something, and it's like a little light, and it's like flickering, and then it flickers a couple times and it disappears. And I'm like, okay, flickers again, like an orangey red light, and it disappears. And I'm like, oh my God. And I tap my husband. I'm like, look. And when I look at the time, it's 9:01. Again, it disappears. So it did that 3 times. And he saw it, I think, maybe the second or third time. And he's like, where'd it go? I was like, I don't know. But at that point, then we see an airplane come from the north. And it's like coming toward like where this thing was coming from. So I guess it just like, it disappeared. But whatever it was, it blinked 3 times, and it came from the south like I expected it to, and it happened at 9:01 p.m.
Up next, I've got a creepy segment from my buddy and host of the Frequency podcast, Aaron the Bland, where he dives into horror films and also posts horror content on his social media. Now, Aaron's love for the eerie started very young when he began seeing things no one else could. His mom brushed it off as kid stuff, but a mysterious voice caught on one of her home videos changed everything. As Aaron grew older, the strange experiences only intensified, from unexplained noises to shadowy figures. His encounters feel ripped straight from a horror movie. It's the kind of personal story that reminds you horror isn't always just fiction or bland.
I was just a kid, you know, and I was the only child. My mom would always record me, like, just doing whatever. But I would scare her so much because I, being the little devil that I am, would see things. And I would tell her all the time that there's a lady in the house, that there's a man in the house, and to the point where, like, I would even follow them as if there's someone in front of me. Like, I would tell her, like, oh, there's like a woman right here. And then, like, I would go into her room. And then my mom would not want to follow me because she's like, what the hell? Like, I'm not about to get probably attacked by some demon or some shit. That she would push me into like her room or like my room to go in first to see if like there's anything else or if they're gone. So like I would have to basically shout and say like, oh, they're gone. And that's it. So she can come inside the room because she was genuinely so scared. But with one of the home videos that she had, she recorded me like she usually did, basically almost every day. And she invited her sister over and she was like, do you want to watch some videos of Aaron that I took today? And she said, yeah, sure. So they're watching the videos, and mind you, it's like on that like VHS recorder type thing. And my aunt, she was listening to the audio and she's like, can you rewind that again? And then my mom was like, yeah. And she's like, before you like start, like, was anyone else here? And she's like, no, it was just me and Aaron. And she's like, are you like, yeah, or like, are you just messing with me? Basically what happened in the video is I'm walking away into like where I think is going to be my room. And I'm walking back and you hear my mom clearly like talking to me, but you also hear another lady and she's just like, mijo, mijito. And she's like calling to me. as I'm walking up to my mom. And it's as if you're like the lady is behind my mom. Like that's how close it sounds. And my mom, yeah, like my aunt, she's like, turn it up. Like I heard something, and they're like clear as day. Like you can hear it. Like you hear the lady. She doesn't sound scary. She kind of sounds very angelic. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know who it is. I don't know who that voice is. My mom doesn't know who the voice is. Like no one in my family knows who the voice is. It's just, it kind of just solidifies that I used to see things when I was little. I wasn't joking. Like there is something, or like some type of presence that was looking over me, whether, I mean, if you believe in it or not, like, I don't know if it's like a guardian angel, my family's past life that is trying to look over me, maybe someone that was there that is just looking over me. So in the second house, I was already 12, 13, so like puberty age. And my siblings had soccer practice basically like Monday, Wednesdays every night. And it was just down the street. So we lived down the street from the park where they practiced, and my dad was the coach. So they would go down to the park, and I would always stay home alone because I just did not want to go. I had no reason to go. So my parents went with my siblings, and I stayed home alone, typically from like 6:30 to 8 p.m. usually. And because I'm just so close by, I mean, if anything were to happen, at least they're literally like 2 minutes down the road. In this situation, I would typically go to my parents' room to go to the computer. I remember I always had to lock the door. I remember I locked the door, made sure like windows were closed, and my parents would do the same exact thing. You know, make sure windows were closed, and then they would make sure like for me to like be there to lock the door as they left. So, which I did. And then I'm like, okay, let me just go to my parents' room now. Let me just do the layout for you really quick. So once you step into the front of the house, right to the left is the stairs. Like you would just go all the way up. And then at the stairs, if you go straight ahead, it's the bathroom. If you make just a quick left, it's the door to my parents' master bedroom. So I was in my parents' master bedroom, and I was just on the computer, and I started hearing like weird scratching on the walls. So I'm like, what the fuck is that? Okay, I'm just like, I don't even worry about it because I'm like, okay, I hear shit all the time. It's like an old house, whatever. And then I hear as if like steps are coming up the room, like up on the stairs, like on the steps, because like you hear the creaks. Like if someone's putting pressure on the step, like you hear it. And I'm like, am I going crazy? Like I'm not thinking of it. And it happens when I'm not thinking of anything scary at all. Like it's literally just like the most random moment. It's like I'm focused on something else. I'm not thinking of being home alone. I'm not thinking of like, oh, I'm scared or anything like that. And I'm like, I'm hearing these steps coming up the stairs, and I'm like, that's like just in my imagination, right? Like that's not happening. And I hear it get closer and closer. It just sounds like it's getting heavier and heavier. And then I feel like the air is starting to get a little heavier because I'm like freaking out because I'm like, okay, it's not in my imagination because I'm clearly hearing it. Like I'm hearing as if someone is coming up the stairs. So I jolt to my mom and dad's door, and I close it, I lock it, and I go into their bathroom. So like where the shower is and stuff. So right where the shower is, the wall is connected to my bathroom. So like the one where I was telling you, like if you go up the stairs, like straight ahead, like that's where the bathroom is. I was literally against the wall, and I literally heard footsteps go into the bathroom, like on the tile, like you can hear the footsteps, and it just stops. And I was freaking out. Like I was literally crying, and I had to call my mom and my dad. I was like, you guys need to come home now. I think someone's in the house because I hear footsteps like they were coming up the stairs. I kid you not, I had to wait in the bathroom for 15 minutes until their practice was over because I don't know if they either did not believe me or they're like, we're on our way, we're just wrapping up, we have to grab everything. And I was just huddled in the bathroom until my dad and my mom were like at their door, and they were knocking. They're like, Aaron, open. I was like pale. I was like, my lips were white. I was like, I swear to you, I heard like if something was coming up these stairs, and it was like frightening. So third house, I'm already probably like 18 or 17. I had to be in high school, barely starting college probably. So I had to be like 17 through like 19-ish. I would typically go to sleep with my iPod on, and I always had to listen to music every night. So you know how like if you were to like turn your phone on or anything, it kind of lightens up part of the room. So I had my bed basically facing the wall. So like if I were to turn around, my face would be facing the wall, or if I turn around the other way, it's facing the room basically. So I wanted to change the song because I'm like, okay, this isn't the vibe for tonight. Like I just want something that's chill and I just want to go to sleep. So I ended up doing that. But when I needed to change the freaking music, for some reason, I don't know why I ended up looking up, but I looked towards like the right of me, which is I'm facing my room now, not the wall. And I see something. I kid you not, that there is this man standing either like in this tuxedo or something like that. And he's just looking, like just staring at me. And I just turn my iPod off. I turn around and I go to sleep. I don't scream. I don't do anything. I just go to bed. Just me thinking, I'm like, was that real? Or was that me, like my mind playing tricks on me? Again, I wasn't thinking of anything scary. I didn't watch anything scary. I really couldn't really picture his face so much. I just want to say he was like a white individual. And he was just like standing over. It was just an older gentleman. Like he was just staring at me. So my parents, when we moved into that house, it used to be an old person home. In my room, where I would lay my pretty little head to sleep, I was cleaning the closet when we first moved in, and I found a medical bracelet. So my best friend, he used to live with us for a little bit, and when he was over and like he was helping us clean and move everything, we actually also found teeth within like the window seals. And we also found a book of like all the old people that used to live in that house, like the pictures of like them in the house, of them, like of just the house in general, the backyard. Yeah.
I had the chance to chat with one of my favorite podcast hosts, who I think needs to teach lessons on narration because he's just so good at it. Jake, host of the Poison Touch Advice Hour, is all about giving you the bold, no-holds-barred advice your friends might shy away from. With a touch of pop culture and iconic references, who wouldn't have a good time? When talking with Jake, he shared an experience that left me chilled and intrigued. As a child, he encountered a mysterious figure, but that experience wouldn't only affect him, but years later, affect one of his family members.
Growing up, my bedroom was across the hallway from the bathroom, and I shared a room with my brother. We usually slept with the door open because we wanted the air to circulate. And I remember it was a blackout, so it was really dark. I woke up, I really had to go to the bathroom. So I'm in the bathroom and I do my business, and I'm washing my hands, and I splash water in my face just to, like, because I had just woken up. And behind me in the mirror, I see this big shadowy figure of what looks like a man in kind of like a top hat with like a shawl on, you know what I mean? And so that scared the shit out of me. And so I look behind me and I don't see the shadow, but then I look back in the mirror and I see it again. And so, but I'm moving my own body to make sure that it's not my own shadow, and it's not. I go back to bed, and kind of over that whole month, I would periodically wake up at night and see that shadow kind of like in the bathroom. Like, I never woke up scared seeing it. And I was sleepwalking a lot at this time. Yeah. And my parents were talking about how they kept finding me in the basement. And then one night they woke up and I was like standing over them and sleepwalking. So I don't know if I had like a minor possession or not. So here's like where shit really hits the fan. I had forgotten all about this. And then my sister, who's 7 years younger than me, one day she hits me up. She's like, this is after I had already moved away for college. She's like, hey, I had a really weird thing happen to me the other day. I was like, oh yeah, what happened? So she moved into my room after I had moved out. She verbatim tells me the exact same story. I woke up and I saw this figure standing in the middle of the hallway between the bathroom and the room, and it was a man in a top hat. I had never mentioned this story to her, only for her to come back years later and tell me that the same thing has happened to her. My mom said that when she first moved into the house, she would always hear like an old-timey radio being tuned, and then she would go and investigate, and then it would stop, and she would always hear like the sound of someone in like a rocking chair and like an old man kind of speaking. But that's really it. So I don't know if that was him, or yeah, that's not to say that I lived in a haunted house by any means, but that's definitely an experience. My boyfriend has also told me a story as well. And this is obviously, I'm hearing it from him, so I'm hearing it secondhand, but he told me that years ago, he and his boyfriend went out to a Halloween party, and at the time, his boyfriend lived in a house where the ghost didn't like the doors being closed. So they would always come home to like the doors being open, whether they're like slightly ajar or like fully open. I'm talking like the front door to the apartment, the doors to the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the kid, like all the doors had to be open basically. So they come home from this Halloween party, and my boyfriend, his name is John, so I'll call him John. So John goes to the bathroom to shower, and his boyfriend goes to sleep, right? And John's in the shower, and he hears knocking at the door, like, you know, like 3 knocks, like duck, duck, duck. And John thinks that it's his boyfriend. So he's like, oh, just, you know, come in, you know, the door's open, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. And then, so he starts getting a little annoyed. He's like, oh my God, dude, I told you, the door's not locked. Come on inside. Still nothing. Duck, duck, duck. So then he gets so annoyed, he gets out of the shower and opens the door, and he can see like in the bedroom, his boyfriend is knocked out cold, like snoring. And that's when it like hit him. Oh, the ghost doesn't like the doors being closed. Yeah. So that's the story he told me. And my boyfriend is not someone that I like. He's kind of no nonsense. I don't think he would lie about this type of thing. Yeah. So like, I fully believe him.
Creeping in closer to home, one of my personal friends, Lyris, born on Halloween, has a passion for picture-perfect moments and a style only one who's in touch with their aesthetically pleasing dark side would appreciate. Don't believe me? Check out her Instagram and TikTok accounts. Now, I summoned her here to my spooky little recording space where she shared she has always felt like something's been with her. A sort of energy that follows her ever since she was a child. She's even experienced unsettling visuals, from shadow figures to feeling like something is constantly watching her. Supernatural friend or foe? Decide for yourselves.
I feel like I've always had some sort of, I don't know, just that follows me everywhere. Like, you're born on Halloween, you're some sort of witch, you're some sort of like something that portrays from Halloween. My grandma would say, you're a little devil because you're born on Halloween. She was very religious, very beyond that. I always feel like there was some sort of, I always felt like when I turned too fast, there was something like standing behind me. I always felt some sort of energy was watching me at all times. Still to this day, I feel like something's always watching me, and I don't know what it is. And then when I was younger, I would share a room with my sister, and we had this bed that had poles. It was like a half circle. There was poles going down. And I specifically remember that day we were in our old house, and in the middle of the night, I seen something by my legs. So I held on to the poles that were on the bed frame, and I felt like I was pushed up from the bed from them pulling my legs. And my sister confirmed that she seen me up in the air, but she didn't see any figure. I don't know what it is. Everybody that's been really, really close to me hasn't passed, think. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's somebody I know or if it's just an energy that's been following me since I was little. Because I always feel like somebody's watching me, whether it be like an actual person or just like an energy just watching me. Because everybody has that sense to where when somebody's looking at them, that's what I feel a lot. I think when I was younger, when I was in like high school, I would always question it and be like, why? What is following me and where is it coming from? But I think as I grew up more, since it wasn't threatening to me, it was just more of something that I accepted, that it was just something. Even though I don't really know what it is, it's just an energy that I feel like is following me. I don't know where it stems from. I feel like I've grew to understand that it's just gonna be there.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not threatening, it's not something I worry about. I've learned to live with what I feel. Yeah. When I'm home alone, I do feel like, you know, when somebody passes by you and you feel that air. Like, I feel like when I'm only alone though, like even the other day, I like was writing down, I was at work and there was nobody in the store, and I looked like down, and then I seen like at the corner of my eye, like something black just go, like walk across. And I look up and nobody had passed by. Nobody was in the store. My bosses were in the back. So there was nobody near me. But I seen like a black figure go across me.
As always, Screamers, if you would like me to share an experience of yours, share something you find creepy or interesting, or simply want to ask me a question, head on over to beacons.ai/The Scream Society and click on the Society submission link. Remember, everything remains anonymous. Before wrapping up here, I just want to give a big shout out and huge thank you to Deborah, Aaron, Jake, and Lyris for sharing their experiences. If you want more from each of these creators, check the episode description and give each of them a follow. I promise you, they put out some great content. But until next time, I'll scare you all on the next episode. Thank you for tuning into the Scream Society podcast, hosted, written, produced, and edited by yours truly, Ralph Anthony. Help the society grow by subscribing on your favorite platform and leave a rating and review. I always strive for 5s. Have a horror or paranormal experience? Want me to answer your questions on the show? Submit to beacons.ai/The Scream Society. Connect with the podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Scream Society Podcast. And until next time, I'll scare you on the next episode.